Hey everyone, it's been a while. I hope everyone is doing great. In today's video, we will take a look at how I created this animated clip using Unreal Engine 5. First, we will take a detailed look into the backdrop I created. And lastly, I will go over my approach to this environment, my thought process, how I dealt with the lighting, and some tips and tricks to speed up your workflow. Let's get into the video. The first thing we need to do before starting up our project is to find a backdrop clip. This could be any clip ranging from a YouTube video, self-recorded phone clip, or a stock video. I personally downloaded a trail video from Shutterstock, but any source will work fine. Find the file you want to use and save or convert it as an MP4. I've opened up my Unreal Engine 5 project, and the first thing we need to do to create an animated window sequence is to add our video to our project. So to do that, let's first add a new folder to our content browser. Right-click and add new folder. I'm going to call this video. To add our video, we need to right-click within our folder and show in Explorer, as we can't simply drag and drop our video format into the engine itself. So click Show in Explorer, and with the Explorer window opened, copy and paste your video within the designated video folder that we just created within our content browser. I've added my video, and I can simply close the Explorer. Let's go back to the content browser and now open the video folder. Here we can't see our video, so let's fix this. I'm going to right click within the content browser video folder, from here go to media, and add a file media source. I'm going to call this video source. You can name this whatever you like. Let's open it up, and in here under file path, choose a file from this computer. Simply locate the video folder path where we have copied and pasted our video into. Select the video that you've imported and click on Open. Let's make sure to save and then close this window. Now that we have imported the video source within our project, we need to be able to drag and drop it onto an asset. And we can't drag and drop the video source within our viewport. So let's fix this. In the video content browser, right-click, go to Media, and this time add a media player. Now you're prompted with a message to create media texture assets. My video doesn't contain any audio, so I can only create the video output media texture asset. But if your video contains audio, make sure to select both. So I'm going to select the video output media texture asset and click OK. I'm going to call this Storm, as that's the topic of my video that I'm going to import. But also, name this whatever you like. You see, now that I've created my media file, it also created an asset, and this asset we can drag and drop within our viewport. But first, let's add an asset that we want our media texture asset to be projected on. So the first thing I'm going to do is open up my media player. Double-click video source to play it, and then pause it. This time, don't close it, but minimize it, so we can actually see what we're doing when working on our media asset. Next, go to the Quickly Add to Project drop-down menu. Here go to Shapes, and drag and drop the play within our viewport. I'm going to slightly drag it outside so I can see what I'm doing. Now, let's drag and drop the created media texture asset onto our plane that we just created. You will see it automatically creates some material for us. With our material created, let's make sure our plane fits into our camera viewport here on the left. So I'm going to rotate it and make sure it's leveled perfectly. I'm going to scale it up and then give it the appropriate size so my video doesn't look stretched. I'm going to make it slightly bigger and further away so I can crop out the Shutterstock. Something like this feels the appropriate size. It's all about the right distance and playing around with the scale of our asset, so the trees look a natural size. I think this is great. Let's see in Path Tracer how this looks. So I'm going over to my left viewport and enable Path Tracer. I can see it looks a little bit dark. We can fix this by diving into our material. Let's open up our material. And in here we have to fix a few things. We want our material to emit light within our scene, so we have to connect our texture sample into the emissive color. But this won't bring up the brightness. To do that, let's first add a multiply node. And let's create a constant value of 1 by holding 1 on my keyboard and left clicking. I know that a value of 12.5 works fine for my scene, but I suggest playing around with this number as it can be different for everybody. Let's apply our texture sample to the multiply node and add the multiply to the emissive color. Now let's click save. That's everything you need to know on how to create an animated window clip. Make sure to scale and light appropriately to your exposure settings, and everything should look photorealistic. The setup that we just went over will also work with baked, lumen, ray traced, and pad trace rendering methods. In this video, however, we covered only the pad tracing use, as this is one of the most unused causes for backdrop videos within Unreal Engine 5. I do, however, have a detailed video on how to render with pad tracer. You'll learn how to set up lighting and how to render images like this. Make sure to check it out if you have any questions regarding those topics. Finally, let's go over some tips and tricks. The first thing I do when working on a small scene like this is to make sure to have an idea in mind of how I want the final shot to look like. With that idea, I sketch out a rough area where I want my camera to be. Once satisfied with the framing of my camera, I start to add assets to the small world I am creating. This is an iterative process. Within this process, I make sure to save screenshots so I can go over them and see what needs changing or slight adjustments over time. The great part about building a small scene, however, is that we don't have to care how anything looks outside the camera that we've set up. We can leave everything messy and unproportionate. This keeps the focus on our final render and saves a lot of time. The lighting, however, took some more time. It was quite interesting because just using an HDR wasn't enough. It looked quite flat. What we can do about this problem is to set up some lights around the scene, and this is exactly the thing that happens in movies and TV shows. Using these fill lights, I can create a trim light around my objects, not only making the popper stand out, but also enhancing the depth of my shot, which really adds a lot of realism and value to the final render. And maybe most importantly, it adds some drama to the overall environment. Finally, we have efficiency. I can't say it enough, but don't reinvent the wheel again. Let's use what's available to us and quickly come to a desired end result. For this project, I wanted to focus on an animation. Because of that, I didn't want to struggle creating candles or a complex shader for the raindrops. So I took the candles from the Unreal Temple project and the raindrop material from the Advanced Glass Material Pack. These are both free to download. I will share the links to these asset packs in the descriptions below. That was all for today's video. I hope this video will empower our amazing community to create more artwork. But if you have any art, feel free to share a link in the comments. I'll be happy to check it out. Before I go, I want to show you a small teaser of an upcoming series I'm working on. I will go in depth on how to create photorealistic Archviz interiors using only Lumen. Stay tuned for that, and see you all later.